Okay, I don't think we'll necessarily need it. Permission to share the screen. Okay, pay now works fine. I'll work on it. I'll come back to you. Thank you.
Come with me.
All right, I will.
Y'all all in here?
Yeah.
Duncan, are you with us? Oh,
Yep, I'm there.
okay.
Oh, wow. Are you okay, Duncan?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, wow. What you doing?
I'm sitting in my basement.
That's creepy. Are you alone down there?
Yeah, I am. It's also really cold.
I'm just getting creepier and creepier.
Okay.
All right, so let's go. We'll go quickly. It's the end of the month for everybody, and we've got a lot of stuff going on. But I want to get into, so where we left off last week, as far as we were going through positions and all that. So support specialists and the structure, I want to roll with that. So I'm okay with it. It makes sense. So what we have written in that document when we meet with the various folks, those will be the titles we will use. Okay?
So I can announce like to the help team tomorrow, those new titles for the actual team. And I think we're still working on, or you're still working on Mary Sue's and Caroline's, correct? I think that was the only one that we didn't have an actual title for, was for their professional services or whatever we want to call them.
Services specialists and services expert.
I think it's fine. Yeah, I mean, it's just what are they?
So we're saying like professional services
I think
specialists.
they're both.
PSS.
They're both. What's the
Wait, did I just put thank you, ma'am? And
You did.
the tier that I had was expert was level tier 2, specialist was tier 1, or was it the other way around?
I think that was the case. So I think like for the
Remember?
help team, they would all be support specialists. And then once they get up to tier 2, they would be,
an expert.
or product experts at that point.
Correct. So they would be services experts,
Professional services experts or just,
specialists. I'm sorry.
Services specialists.
No, I'm messing myself up here.
Specialist is the tier 1 level.
Yeah.
Expert is the tier 2 level.
It should be the tier 1 level for now, right? Because neither one of them is. It's your call. You can have them be whatever, but it's services expert, services specialist.
Okay.
So I'm okay either way. But I think that should be consistent throughout because that can be our tier in the overall services group. We'll have it all stable. There'll be some hierarchy, some unflattening, which is fine as we continue to grow. Is that all cool? Okay. So that's off the table. I thought about the name. It's an internal name. I'm just going to keep it. I got to be honest.
Relationship.
Yeah, the only reason why, because I was like, okay, like to Duncan's point, does it matter? You could make it, he was being metaphorical, you could make it call team, which I would never want to do. And then I was like, yeah, but the point he's making is an accurate point. The only other thing that came in my head is the customer journey team would be the only other thing I would do if I was going to change it, I think. But then does that make it?
It's kind of long for you.
sounds like so much, it's a mouthful. Customer journey team.
Yeah, I think it's fine for now. And then if we get,
I'm sorry.
if we get 3 months into it and an identity internally needs to be more pronounced, then we will. That's how I'm thinking of it.
Yeah, since it's not customer facing, it doesn't, I mean, it's really just the name on the meeting invite.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm going to do to kind of finish off just the structure and the journey is, Adam, so at some point next week, we'll have a new rendering of the journey. And I also want to announce to the entire company, I went through this with Cindy in her one-on-one, her director role, in case people weren't in that monthly meeting. So I kind of feel like that's the end of the phase of defining. You know, here's the illustration of the journey. Here's the, the Kinsey being a very important piece, but getting that out there. And then I think we're done structurally defining it at that point, in my mind, just kind of setting the table. Does everybody feel like that or no?
Yes. Do you want to talk about new titles of teams? And are you doing that at the monthly meeting, first of all?
Oh, so like the experts and the specialists?
Mhm.
Well, and just the fact that we're calling it onboarding and implementation.
Good point. We are calling it onboarding.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody.
And we're calling it support instead of help, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I would do that at the same time, right? Doesn't that make sense?
I think so, like, so would
Defining.
you rather do that during the meeting instead of me doing it like during the team meeting tomorrow or whatever? Or what would you want to deliver that? Do it in the meeting instead of?
I think
my team will be like, what the hell, why did this get?
Yeah, both, yeah.
Maybe like we do
And
our
I'm
team meeting for
feeling
them and then he does it for everybody, so they know.
Yeah,
And I sit in, when I'm here, I sit in 50% of the time I sit in those meetings anyways.
The implementation guys, they'll be onboarding specialists now.
yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
I'm pulling my team meeting up just so I can have these in here, so.
And, you know, I mean, there's a differentiation is, again, this is up to you, is Teresa an onboarding expert? I don't know. You guys, I'm okay with.
I think it would be
whatever.
really nice for Teresa to have the tier 2 type title. I think she deserves it. I think Teresa is an expert, like hands down. So I think.
I brought it up.
That's my 2 cents.
In a purposeful. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be really
one
cool.
that we would want
Yeah.
to. We've talked about
Yeah.
it, one-on-one coming up and all that stuff.
I mean,
so-
she's not gonna balk at it either way, but I think she deserves an expert title, because she is an expert.
Correct.
Mary's doing, Caroline too.
So just for my clarification, so we're talking about a difference between having an onboarding specialist and an onboarding expert. Is that right?
Correct.
So it'd just be 2 tiers for basically one team.
And they're all experts right now. I mean, specialists.
Specialist. Okay.
Tadpole.
Bad Paul.
My only thought with the Mary Sue and Caroline is, the whole thought is long-term people, well, everybody really. People should be able to do multiple things. It's not like,
Right.
you know, so my only thought with them is, do we just call, you know, are they just onboarding specialists as well because they're doing upgrades? And I mean, it's not
Could
like,
be. I'm
you know what I mean?
We don't have to decide it. We will let you
Yeah,
think about it
yeah.
and get input from various members and you decide. Okay?
What did you want to? Yep.
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right, so we'll do the onboarding. We can start talking about it with our teams as you all see fit. I'll be with most of you all during that. So now that I think that we've kind of got this put to bed, I do want to make a bit of a splash in some way when we do roll out the diagram of it. And, you know, I also think we want to use that diagram. I mean, we put time into it and a lot of thought. And I think the next level of thought would be, how do we use that? Can we use it in a marketing way? Can we use it in a sales way? Is it home base for the, you know, for our customers and understanding the journey? Is it home base internally for how our customers understand the journey? And are we educating off of that document? The whole point of putting it together was to do that.
Yeah.
So I think the answer is yes. Now we need to think about how we're doing that. A lot of it goes into how we introduce it externally and internally. So I think that needs to be thought about. We can table it. You don't have to answer it right now. I'm just bringing that up as that next evolution of it.
I think it'll be nice too, because it'll help provide that clarity. You know, a lot of times we get this fuzziness of like, where am I and
I think
who am I
so.
with? And I think it'll be nice, right, in sales and when it comes to implementation, like you're just following your journey. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that'll help resonate.
Yes.
The fuzziness of where am I in the company.
And if we can give them that good feel.
Yeah, so just going back to that, so we sat down yesterday and kind of sketched out and looked at this new kind of customer journey infographic that we're doing. And when we originally sat down, we did it more for like internally. So if this is something we want to do customer facing, then I want to discuss maybe what that would look like. Because I don't want Carrie to dive into this and the next week we realize like, okay, this isn't gonna, it's not appropriate, it's not gonna work. So we could pull up that sketch that, you know, Adam, that you did, but that's just one thing I want to talk about because I just don't want to.
I mean, the concept was the customer journey would always be from the customer, right, the customer perspective.
But is it customer facing?
Yeah.
Like,
It's
would
definitely
we
from the
show that document to a
Yeah,
customer?
that's the thing, like, because
That was always my thought, that it would be for the customer.
I think I was kind of on the flip side. I thought it was like more for us.
Journal.
Yeah, because like I don't want to show the customer, hey, this is what we think you're
Right.
thinking about
yeah, that
your
was
journey with us. You know what I mean?
understanding as well, that it was-
I thought it was like just for us. That's why I thought the journey was kind of,
Well, I guess it's good that we talked about it now.
Yeah.
We can all be on the same page.
yeah, I didn't think about that until you said that, but I always thought that it was more like
I think
for us than customer facing.
as we've talked about it so far, I wouldn't show it to a customer, like what we've looked at together, because I do feel like I don't know the value that it would add to show to a customer. I know the value that it would add to show to clickers, absolutely.
Sure. Well,
It would help them better understand the customer, but what would we accomplish in showing that customer journey to the customer?
Well, I think like what Stacy said, like just knowing where they are on
The
the path
journey,
and the
how that
journey.
works for them.
And yeah, we might want to change, I mean, now I can't even think of the exact wording that we use, but that, it would be a super useful tool for sales and for implementation, I think.
I
And
guess
just that.
I thought the implementation timeline was that,
Yeah,
the customer facing
I think there is a chunk of this process.
But that's not the whole journey, I guess.
Right, to the
No.
customers, absolutely, but when you get to that end point where we start talking about them thinking about, was this valuable to me, am I gonna renew? That feels like a weird message to put in front of.
That's the one part, yeah, I was thinking,
Showing them
I was
behind
thinking
the
about the
scenes.
advocacy thing, like, do we really want to put that on there?
So.
But
Yeah, and like, do they
I mean,
understand
we
me?
can do it, we just have to
what was
approve it.
what was the actual wording that was on there?
So I'm gonna drop this in here, so I just wanna make sure that originally we did that one process one, and the one that we're looking at doing now is completely different. So I wanna make sure we're all on the same page about that. Adam did this kind of sketch out, and this is what we're kind of, I can drop it into Slack.
Did you,
I just wanna make,
Just put it in the relationship team.
yeah, I need to pull it out of my download. Cause I guess I always thought customer journey was more internal, and we do have like the timeline that we've done. There we go. You'll probably have to zoom in a little bit, I can put more in here, but you can kind of see the idea that we're kind of going with. And this walks through each stages. And that's also what I wanted to
yeah, this is also my shitty kind of sketch figures.
We never say bad words.
I think that works.
Oh, he definitely.
It's like,
said
we're
that.
from Adam?
That's real bad.
A bad man.
A man with a beard like that is gonna curse. It's gonna happen. Like, you can't rock that beard and not curse.
Yeah, that would be just a waste of a beard.
Carrie sketched out a better version of this. Oh, okay. Grab it from her, see what she does.
Hey guys, this is Duncan.
We didn't know
I mean,
that.
I think these images are ready to ship to customers today. I don't know why we're still talking about it.
I totally agree.
What did he say, what?
He said
I think these images are
ready to
ready.
ship.
Oh.
I'm gonna pop something crazy in here that's gonna blow y'all's mind that we still have in the help center that is a customer facing version of this that we came up with like years ago.
I don't even, there's so much
Oh,
stuff
wow.
out there I don't know about. and it's
Nothing
stuff-
ever changes in this, we just reinvent.
Matt Black.
Like,
That's the world.
Really cool.
please look at that document.
I've never
I
seen
don't
that.
want to.
It's not bad.
There's so much old implementations of old training, and it makes me cringe thinking what's out there.
Yeah, so we have, I mean,
So I'm gonna do
obviously this,
inventory in the next week, so if there's no one that participate in that, I'll just slack them to y'all.
a
but
documentation
We gotta
inventory.
figure out something, because like, that's not okay.
What?
Old branding, like,
Oh, yeah.
that's not okay.
Yeah, this being like in the help center.
I printed an application for the interview the other day, and
I
it
popped
had
this
old
in here. We
branding.
made this, this
Oh, 'cause
overview
Julie
of
told
the
you.
experience years ago.
Julie was like,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. So this is carry off.
Yeah, isn't that crazy that that's still in the help
I
center,
don't know, I
you know?
just had the template.
I can obviously remove that from the help center, but I was like, you know, I made like a, you know, because we had this conundrum, obviously, this has always been a thing, like, we want our customers to see what their journey looks like with us. So this is a stab at that, obviously, years ago.
Yeah.
So, can I make a suggestion, guys?
Of course.
We love your suggestions.
We just looking at the customer journey map that we put together, and like at its core, it's a tool to better understand the customer's experience and then to build processes from that. So yes, like it is 99% done so far with the intent to be an internal tool. That said, there's still this feeling of wanting some visual representation to help manage customers through the onboarding and through their experience. My suggestion would be we're changing a lot, and we should be changing about how we're interacting with customers. So before we get ahead of ourselves and start introducing collateral that's customer facing based on past experience, I'd rather focus on how we're delivering the new experience and then discovering what collateral will help us in that effort.
Agree. And just rewind back, everything that we are doing should be, it's not like we're doing something different internally that we're doing externally. And that's sort of the point. When we're ready to present something externally or not is a different discussion, but as we're building these things, we're really building it for their journey. So we need to have that in mind. And we can look at the timing of when we want to start to introduce it to people. There will come a point where we do, because it has value to them. We may iron out what that, we haven't defined very well, to Duncan's point, what are the processes that are going to be written underneath that journey. Renewals, right now we send an invoice out. That's probably not the process ultimately that we would want to have. That's maybe going to change how that illustration is at some point, but we do want them to renew. So it's this document ultimately, after our processes are set, is going to be something we will use externally. It doesn't mean that Carrie's going to do it twice. It's going to evolve as we evolve. We will use it internally immediately, though. So I think that's the answer to that. We should just be thinking that as we're doing these things, it's in full transparency. It doesn't mean tomorrow that it's going to go out the door. The first process is, process under onboarding is we're rewriting it.
I guess too, and kind of talking about in regard to collateral, is just making sure that we can't update everything at once.
And right now we're not consistent in some areas that we find.
So when we decide to roll this
that
out,
would be a process within this journey, right?
I think at least getting the stuff that are customer facing going out like every day or every other day, I want to get that updated with the new stuff. I don't want, someone sending out a new email and it says welcome to implementation, and then we send them a card that says ready to onboard.
Right.
So I want to make sure the collateral that is going out every single day is updated with the right stuff.
Yeah, well, there's really two levels to it, right? One is just making sure the terminology is consistent.
Right.
And so if we want to take the existing collateral and update all of that, yes, totally. But the collateral that will help us transform for example, the onboarding experience, we don't really know what that collateral is going to be yet. So yes, let's definitely put the new stuff into the existing collateral so that we have consistency, but let's also not just recreate what we already have, because we'll fall into the same process that we already have if we do that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I definitely don't want to
that is so nice.
Certainly you have to go back and redo the document all over again. Because I think that's when working with Kinsey on
she did do it with that thought in mind. I mean, that was when I was making this done with that thought in mind. Not that we would send it out tomorrow, to Duncan's point, but she's writing this with that thought in mind, or illustrating this with that thought in mind. Look at how she's done it.
As far as whether we show this internally or externally?
Yeah.
Well, I think that comes down to some of the details. But yeah, I mean, from a presentation standpoint, you can, it's going to look good for sure.
I mean, this is really nice. And now we can put it up, we can look at it. One of the things I wanted to do was, and everybody should take, we don't, yeah, the point is we're going down the right path. So I want to go for another 30 minutes, and what I want to get done here is some actionable items underneath the journey itself. Okay?
Okay.
And things that we can start to do. Now that we have the structure in place, we've got it set, I think we think ultimately what that journey is. We're gonna put a depiction of it, an illustration of it. It may evolve, which is totally fine. Common themes are naming, conventions, getting it working internally, seeing how that works externally is all gonna be really important. So we had, so I don't want to do it by memory.
Are you talking about the original one?
Yeah, how we wrote out what are the why.
Let's see. It's really a channel.
Oh, you're,
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
If we just pull
This
up,
thing?
somebody would just plug in and just, yeah, that's fine, thank you. So, experience is a why. I mean, yeah.
Good Lord.
Okay.
Well, did you say bless America?
I got one.
Oh, is that like a sub for cursing? Is that? It's a good thing. Never heard God bless America.
You haven't?
No, heard of like sugar honey iced tea. Yeah.
That's probably a thing.
God bless America. All right.
For those of you on the phone, you're probably gathering this, but Paul is writing on the board.
I just want to get our action items.
I like to play by play, kid.
Well, I can just imagine that they're sitting there like what the fuck's going on?
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
staring at each other?
But like, just so you know.
Duncan chilling in his basement alone, like.
Are you guys there?
Not to belabor this point, but one question about it, the adoption phase there. You know, we talked about talking about these stages from the perspective of the customer. If we're going to make this public, we're going to show this to people. Does that word make sense for that phase? I mean, should we just go ahead and call it onboarding?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be consistent.
Really good adoption.
One more. No.
I don't know yet. Because these are two of the same. What I'm really trying to get to right now is defining the things underneath this journey that we need to update, that we need to implement, that we need to bring back into play. And there are some things to me that are very obvious, but I don't know what I don't know yet, and I need to get there. So, did it pay off for me? That's renewals. So, to me, I need to understand, you know, specifically with renewals, what are the stats now? What are we doing now today, procedurally? And then what do I think we should be doing, you know, in the future? That's just an example. NPS. So that experience item, I mean, what are we doing now today? Because that's a way that we can, you know, what are we doing now today? What do we think we're going to do in the future? How are we going to capture that? And then how are we going to use that as our driver to look at where we need, you know, to focus? That's going to be, and Kinsey's prepared, you know, or Duncan and Kinsey, I think Kinsey took ownership in it, but at some point to explain that to us, or what we have now. That would be, so even if I just took this off the board and I just said, to me, I still go back to, I started here 2 weeks ago and I still go back to this. These two things we need to better understand as a team, like, or it's gonna be very hard to do these things, like we set up the structure, and then there's some really specific things, low-hanging fruit, that we know we need to do. So collateral being the same throughout, having a new onboarding timeline, having Kinsey as that, you know, source of knowledge for us, doing the why to every person in this company, doing spin for every person. So these are things that are very actionable. These are things that I can't action on yet because I don't know them well enough. And I don't know if we know them as a team well enough. But I think we, you know, Laura's the director of sales, and she's probably, you know, and if you are, how is this helping me? But I want us all to learn these things, no matter what, even if we don't feel like it necessarily affects us. Duncan, I'm pointing at renewals and NPS. I still come back to, we as a team need to understand the data there and what we're doing today, because I think those two things are the bigger items that I want to go after. And then I also want us to define those smaller items and make sure we're checking them off. And I think we can collectively come up with some of the smaller items ourselves and manage to that, and then next week manage to it, or 2 weeks later manage to it, and just keep checking them off. But for me right now, I'm a person, like, if I don't have them written out and know what they are, I know that Stacy sending out a card, because I want every customer to know that they personally can reach out to Stacy or vice versa. I know that that's a great experience. I don't need NPS to tell me that. I want NPS to tell me that, but right now I already know I need to do that, but I want to see that we're doing it. You know what I mean? So, like, there needs to be a repository of these items that we agree to, that it's the low-hanging fruit, and let's say what they are, let's agree, and let's hit them out and move to the next week. So that's how I'm kind of thinking of it, these two big areas, and then what are these smaller areas? Duncan, what's your input?
No, I totally agree.
Okay. So let's start with the two bigger areas. How do we educate ourselves in these two areas as a team? I mean, like, I really don't know what I don't know there. I mean, I could tell you, without knowing how a renewal process works, like, what I would want to know is, you know, how many customers do we have? How long have we had them for? Mm-hmm. What, you know, what's their demographics? What do they pay? When's the last time they renewed? And then I would say that's one set of data. And then I would say the next set of data I would want to know is, how often do they log into the system? How often do we contact them? You know, boom, 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 boom. You know, what has been their NPS score if they have one? What's been their CSAT score if they have one? How many times did they call the help desk this year? Boom, 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 boom. And then I'd say, okay, let's start to understand that data and then try to roll out a plan of attack on how we service them better through the entire experience, you know, and then also how we start to address renewals a little bit more thoughtfully and a little bit more proactively. And that would be the end result I would want to see. And then how are we measuring ourselves? So, but we've got to get that data first. Now, I think I asked you to sit down with Duncan. Poor Duncan, I think, does this. God bless. He shouldn't have to do this, but I think he does this. But
that's what a meeting was on.
Yeah,
Monday, I believe.
I mean, first of all, it should be owned somewhere much more systematically than how it's owned, you know, by Duncan having to do that. I think he does it because he wants to know from a health of our business perspective what's going on there, and he knows if he doesn't do it, nobody else is going to do it. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Duncan, but I think that's probably what's happened.
No, yeah, you nailed it. There is nothing I would rather be doing with my time. Like, that's, yeah. It's
but if you don't do it, nobody else does it.
So far, that's proven true.
So we need to figure out, here's the data. What do we want it to be? Where is it, you know, what do we want it to be? And then what's our plan of attack on it? So I would do that with renewals. I mean, and then on what do we have on NPS?
What do you mean?
So hey, before we do that, I just offer a couple quick thoughts for y'all's consumption.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally agree with what Paul's saying. I think there's probably two levels. One, what are the ones that we agree we all need to be really, really familiar with? So like, for example, Ryan, like retention numbers, I'll tell you right now, I'm not gonna have that meeting with you one-on-one because we all need to know those numbers really, really well, right?
You all need to know the NPS.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think that
Yeah,
requires
so let's figure out the ones that we all need to know really intimately. And then as we drill down further, like, is it important that Stacy knows the CSAT coming in from Zendesk tickets? It'd be nice, but it's not hugely important because it's not actionable for Stacy. Just as one example, then let's break it down to at the department level, what are those metrics that are KPIs for the department? Those will roll up into retention and NPS, but we can still have those breakdowns for ownership. So some of those ones that Paul listed at the end, some of those were customer success, some of those were help, some of those were onboarding, but let's get formal about who owns what.
Yeah, and
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Adrian.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say, all of the stuff that you guys are talking about, I mean, I personally really want to be like eating, breathing, and sleeping this stuff and would love to become the mini Duncan at some point. But then Duncan made a good point saying, I guess some pieces wouldn't necessarily be customer success owned, like piece of the puzzle. I think that I should know all of it in order to get the big picture as well. But anyways, that's all I was going to say.
You're right. I mean, success is definitely a piece, and those specifics will fall out where they should go. But I think the starting point is Duncan. If you want to volunteer, is educate us on where renewals, what they are, where they come from. Because once I see that, then I'll know what I think. What's a way to get this in a centralized location so not one individual is doing it?
Yep. So then the other part of that, Paul, I think some of this stuff is dependent on our move to a new billing system, but it also ties in really well to the work Nicole's doing. So we might limp along for a little bit, but know that, that's where we want to go in the longer term.
Because right now, the literal renewal process with the customer is handled by Brandon.
Not very.
Is that accurate? Like, that's my understanding.
Yeah, it's with Brandon and Julie now, but the moral of the story is we don't have a good, reliable source of the data.
Yeah, you don't have like a central point that you can go pull a report to show X, Y, and Z.
Correct. So I think getting it out of my hands will be contingent on moving ahead with the billing system replace.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean we can't do all of these other things in the meantime.
And I do think getting the billing under control would provide for a better customer service, so they're not getting a bill 2 days before it's due, or a week late and we want payment in, yesterday.
Or just even like a nice personalized, like, little stuff like that.
Right. We do definitely get NPS feedback about the billing experience.
Oh, really?
We get direct feedback. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So to give you guys some insight on that, so Duncan and I have volunteered to sit down with Brent and help us. It's really not, it's not going to be person dependent, to select a SaaS recurring revenue based subscription is a better word, a subscription based billing system. We've already gone down that path and we've mapped out what we want to do. But in the interim, to Duncan's point, that central repository will be that billing system. And we should be able to build it on the front end when we're preparing that subscription system for the data that we want to have.
Right. So ultimately that reporting built into that system could replace like the manual work that Duncan's doing in spreadsheets in theory?
Yes.
Correct.
But in the interim,
Yeah.
we got to look at Duncan's data and start to come up with some things that we feel like may be actionable today and may be actionable in the billing system.
Right.
Okay.
And may be actionable at a help level and, or at a support level right now.
Right.
may be actionable at a, you know, when we target add-on, when we target going to do design, and when we want to sell abstracts. Some of that information in that, just understanding, you know, that renewal of that customer may help us too. We may time when we're going after all that kind of stuff.
When we reach out to see something references.
Yeah. So Duncan, I'm gonna put on the calendar one of the next, either this next visit or the next one, that you'll take us through renewals, if that's okay with you. But I want to pose the question, should we be taken through what we do on NPS now first? And I'm gonna rely on you to tell us.
So yes, let's do renewals. I think NPS is probably a larger conversation about the system rather than the numbers, because if we don't understand the system and the purpose of NPS as a management tool, we'll kind of botch the implementation because we'll manage to the numbers, not the system.
Okay.
Can I ask who sees NPS now?
We used to see it.
You can see it in Pendo.
It's in Pendo.
Okay.
There's also NPS historically, prior to Pendo, so prior to the new platform, it was done through Zendesk.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in an organization's profile in Zendesk who is using Classic, you can see their NPS score and their comments.
Okay.
But it does take now for new platform customers going into Pendo to see the results. I have exported them out to a spreadsheet. I haven't done a lot with the sheet other than highlight people who upgraded so that we could see like their new platform NPS score. Obviously, like that's kind of my area of expertise in upgrades. So I was just curious to see like how many of these people were upgrades and what were their scores. That's the only real manipulation I've done to the sheet. Otherwise, it's just kind of like dumped out so that we could look at it together and identify some themes.
Okay.
But I do have that sheet pulled from Pendo, so that's new platform feedback specifically. And I can pop it in the relationship team channel. Like if you guys want to look at it, there's no reason not to.
Yeah.
I would.
Are there dates on there when they submitted?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, my Slack's up here. So I'll pop that in there so you guys can take a peek at it. But I figured, you know, like looking at a spreadsheet as one person probably isn't the most effective way to go about the NPS side of things. I think looking at it together and identifying themes is kind of what we talked about before as far as how to like attack it and do something with it. So what I can do is I can do some analysis on the sheet. I'm not an analyst by any means, but I can definitely, you know what I mean? Like I can sort it and try to identify some themes on my own to bring to the meeting so that we're not just like trying to do that together. I'm happy to do that, but I think it would definitely be worth having a meeting specifically for all of us to talk about NPS. Like the whole hour is dedicated to that.
I agree.
So Duncan, I think, has a lot to contribute as far as like teaching us about the value of NPS. I know a little bit about that because I've heard him talk about it over the years, and then I can show the sheet and kind of identify some of the themes for the group, and we can shoot them that way.
Okay. Fair enough. So next meeting, Duncan, you'll show us renewals or retention, however you want to define it.
Yep.
No, I'll take that meeting off your calendar. Sorry about that.
It's really retention, not retention.
No, you're good. I told Paul a couple of times and he ignored me, so sorry to put you on the spot, Ryan.
No, it's fine. I don't feel rejected. It's okay.
Okay, cool.
So next time we'll do retention. And then probably the next time after that, why don't we maybe another one in between, and then the next one after that, we can start to educate ourselves a little bit on the NPS and what we're doing today. So some of the specific tasks, and I don't want to be hugely opportunistic with this, but some of the things I know that would be really, really helpful in in pushing out the philosophy and the theory behind things, the way I think of it, two things are the why and spin across, educating our team across all of that. So what we're doing now on the Y is I've shown it to the implementation or the onboarding team, excuse me, and the support team. And now basically Ryan and Stacy are scheduling person by person by person. We let the first one volunteer and then, but person by person by person to present it back in the weekly meetings. It doesn't take long. It takes 5-6 minutes. And then I get to use it as and hopefully not just me, but over time, maybe it can move away from just me, but Stacy and Ryan can say, you know what, you just did the Y and it's great. The reason why I like people to do it is that I can use it as a way of going back and saying, and making the points that I want to make. Why do we come to work every day?
Right.
How do we answer, knowing that, how do we answer a support call? Knowing that, how do we handle a point of friction in onboarding a customer? Because that's ultimately, and using use case scenarios. So, and every time, like when Britt does it, I'm sure I'll be able to use that as an example, or when the other Britt does it, I'll be able to use it as an example and help and, put my input in there. There's a reason for that, because I want all of us to be on the same page. So where I really think is it's got to go down a level from me too, after you all watch me do it a few times or give the feedback back, then take it from there and give the feedback back. And then we need to know that as new employees come in, we do the same thing. Right now, Kinsey and Laura have been so kind to put together a spin teaching class. And at some point they'll take it to a point and then I'll have to look at it and do it. And then I think what we want to do there is I think we want to define how we roll that out, and we need to roll it out to our entire team. And that would be the two things at a very high level I would want to get everybody understanding, and as soon as possible. So that's sort of that theory behind things. On the more, we haven't decided on spin, but I do want us to decide how we're going to roll this out across the entire company. The more specific things that I can think of are things like collateral. I don't know all the areas of collateral that need to be made consistent. I do know that I find them every once in a while by accident.
I don't think anyone does.
Yeah, so I know that we've got that, but then we also have this whole area here. I do know that whole area being synonymous with implementation. I wrote on the board onboarding Duncan and Adrian, but I know that whole area needs to be recollateralized.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to micromanage how to do that, but like we do, I think that us as a team want to know that we're doing it, and probably want to know what's going on there. I mean, that's probably something boom. I don't know. You guys can figure it out yourselves, but I know that the onboarding needs to be updated.
Well, the good news is there is enough overlap between onboarding and upgrading, and we have spent a lot of time on upgrade documentation. A lot of that documentation can easily be repurposed, because if you're setting up notifications, it doesn't matter if you're coming from Classic or new, right? You know what I mean? So I think a lot of that hopefully can be used again, so it's not like we're recreating the wheel. The upgrade process touches on everything, implementation touches on, just in a different order. So, maybe the language we use is slightly different, but I think a lot of that documentation can be used for onboarding.
Well, and we're meeting tomorrow.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
We've got a meeting tomorrow morning from an onboarding perspective for our new timeline. So we've got that pretty locked and loaded. So now it's meeting with marketing to marketing it up. But we've revamped the whole thing, and we're taking a whole new approach with it. We'll go through it on our one-on-one on Monday.
Okay.
So we're meeting with them tomorrow to go through, from a marketing perspective, how do we put the marketing around so we can present it to our clients.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna throw this out here. I guess I want to make sure we're not just jumping the gun and getting ahead of ourselves with the name changes in the department and some of the collateral that we're working on. Do we want to say hey, let's roll this out November 1, or is this something that we just want to go ahead first in and?
You tell me. And I didn't say that in
Yeah.
a confrontational way. I want to do what,
I guess I just want to make sure that, like, we're 100% set on this stuff and we're not going to change in like a week or two. So I just feel like all of a sudden,
so you feel like as we start to build some of the collateral, we may find out what we don't know?
I just feel like we need to like process a little bit more, so
Okay.
I don't like.
You don't want to tell my team tomorrow about the
Tell your team
changes, and then
tomorrow.
a week later we change it or something.
Yeah, and like I don't think that'll change,
Yeah.
but I'd rather us get things more together.
Make sure it's
than-
concrete here before we
Like that?
put it out there.
Yeah.
I think I like
fair.
that.
I understand
Like
that.
that, okay.
There's no, in my mind, there's no rush. I mean, I don't want to keep doing this forever and ever either.
Yeah.
I want to get off the dime. But the November 1st is not that long away. I do think that some things we can start to introduce so it's not just such a big deal. Onboarding, we can start to say.
When we know terminology changes take time,
Yeah.
right? Like trying not to say the word template, trying not to say implementation. So introducing it to teams early is going to be good and helping them start to change their vernacular
Mhm.
because like
It's
they're
really
going to say
hard.
implementation
I've said implementation
for a
5
while
years, yeah.
and then they're going to be able to transition. So while we're learning internally and starting to just like relearn our words, we can be updating the documentation. I think that's a good idea. So
Yeah.
that it's not just all happening at once.
I agree.
Yeah, or like not happening at once, but one thing's happening at once.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds
Well, your
good.
concern might be too, is you don't want to go head deep into making all this collateral change, and then 2 weeks we make a name change again. And now you're, rewind, hey, you just did 100 documents. Guess what, Lindsay? You get to do 100 new documents again.
So I'm sure that's a little bit of your, right, and it's totally fair. I mean, that's
And I
totally
think that's
fair.
the stuff, like, if we have another month, there's more stuff that we can actually get updated. Like, yeah, we're not gonna get everything updated, but like the most important thing, like, we can look at least adding new branding on there, new elements or names. Like, I think that's my biggest thing is like, I don't want them to send out something that says like implementation and implementation specialist, and then they're getting like onboarding document here,
Right.
onboarding welcome.
It's important that we be consistent so that the customer,
Absolutely.
I mean, I think part of that is like the customer trusting us. Yeah. Consistency is important and just making them feel comfortable with us and safe that we know what we're doing and we're all on the same page. So I think it's fair.
Agree.
I also deleted that ugly thing from the help center for anyone who was
Mhm.
freaked out about that.
Yeah, that's good.
It made me remember it.
I'm gonna ask.
It made me like remember like, oh shit, this feels really familiar. So it's gone. She's put to bed.
So I'll take off the name changes on the agenda for tomorrow for help titles and stuff.
No,
you
yeah, that's,
still socialize it,
I think.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Socialize
Just maybe let them know it's not gonna be like an
Social
official thing until,
putting it out to the world.
got you. Okay, cool.
Like in their signature.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. Got you.
Yeah, this is what we're talking about, this is this, so to think about it, to organize it in your mind, we defined the customer journey based on what the customer's viewpoint at these very important milestones would be. Here is the illustration. That illustration is rolling out sometime next week or very shortly. In addition to that, so that's step one. In addition to that, the structure and the teams around that, i.e. product expert or services expert and services specialist, is that next step, right? Our collateral being consistent with that is that next step. So those are sort of just the setting the table things, getting everything right. And we can say that to our teams, just like I just said it there. The next areas that we're going to start to look at is things that we share across. Being retention, we obviously share that across. NPS, we share that across. Billing is a subset of retention. We share that across. Communicating with our customers, how many times they log into the system, how many times they call us. Those are things that we all would want to know, right? So then we can, just to let our folks know where we're going with ultimately. Okay?
Real quick question. So, Lindsay, we've got that new,
Yeah.
So if we don't want to launch it till November 1st, are we okay starting to send this out though before November 1st?
So, I mean, we'll have to send this to a printer, so that'll probably be like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks before we can like get it, if we're good with it.
Okay.
And it could be probably maybe early October too. Oh no, that's something.
I just want to throw it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I know y'all are eager to like welcome things, and we still have like the member click like cards. I know that's more like manually writing them out right now. So that's one of the pieces to start things hanging out too early.
Why don't
But
we
it's
do
in the
this?
welcome.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we see when we get it back? Let's see when we get it back. Let's see when it comes back, and then where are we with maybe changing some other things, and then we can make a decision on, we just do handwritten notes for a couple weeks.
Because actually thinking about that, with the welcome kit, we send that implementation timeline.
Right.
So I don't know if it's really implementation timeline, and then that says, and actually I think in that implementation timeline, it says welcome to implementation. So for
It does.
one that says welcome to implementation, and that one saying,
Yeah.
Well, and we have a new implementation timeline coming too, right? So do we just table it all till November 1st and send it at that point, right? Because it'll take you guys, I mean, you guys are gonna have to have some time.
I'd rather do that, so at least we can get as much done as possible, and then it's like a nice little bundle of new stuff, instead of just like one-off, and then we have no clue what. I would feel more comfortable doing that, but if we're really eager to get it off, I guess I just want to make sure we're not doing it right.
Right, I don't know if you saw this.
You decide, and if you want to do that, that's what we will do. It's fine.
Yeah, I think we're all cool.
There's no, that's, yeah, 100%. There's no rush.
You'll end up having to send that timeline after that printer too, right?
Well, that's another thing, is like, where
Yeah.
do they use and stuff, and where do they use it?
Okay.
I like that. So it'll be like one of those cards, like we haven't helped, like one of the little open cards that you'll send out, or like how will look?
I don't
That
know.
would, oh,
It's gonna be like your card.
oh, gotcha,
Alright.
okay, that's cool.
I
Awesome.
just printed this off really like.
I like it.
So,
Yeah, Trey goes, do you want it normal? That looks like next.
so can we do this? So can we just map out? So the next meeting is Duncan doing retention. The next meeting after that, and let's just schedule them as a team, let's just get that done and get them scheduled. The next 3 or 4. The next one after that, I think there's probably an interim one between that and then introducing the MPS, but I do want to be caught up on this because, and I want to be caught up with how far along we are on this. And right now, we're just doing the support team and the onboarding team the only people who do it every day are the solution advisors. And I'm not joking, they do it maybe 3 or 4 times a day. But there's other people that probably should be doing this. So everybody on our team has that badge of honor that they presented the why in 5 minutes or less. So my point being, are we limiting it to one? Why would we do that? Shouldn't everybody do it? I think so. Okay. So I want to get updated on that because I want to get these 2 things in theory throughout the entire organization, throughout our entire relationship team. All right, so that would be sort of that next meeting is in that next meeting, we could, after the Duncan one, and this is a couple weeks away, we can say, here's what we think the education plan is for SPIN, and then we can decide how we want to roll that out. Does Paul do the first one and we record it? I'm just making this up. I don't know, but what's the action plan for that, right? And who we're educating everybody on that. So how would you want to do that? So I think these 2 things will be the one after that scheduled. Then it could be the MPS one, or even we can even wait on the I don't know how long we want to wait on the MPS one. The other one I want to have is the add-on revenue items. I want that to be, yeah. So these are sort of my near-term things, and I think this is plenty. We don't need to get more. I think in our one-on-ones, we're going to get more detailed. But the add-on revenues are design. I know Adam's knee-deep in that. Abstract, I know Adam and Duncan are knee-deep in that. And Mark just introduced, which is great. This is a big-time positive, but Mobile Up, it was signed 3 days ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's the conference app, and over time it'll probably have some extension beyond that. Not day one by any means, but that is our conference app. So these are add-on things that we need to be thinking about now, and that's going to affect everything. I know that may not be a customer success thing, but it's still important to the entire team. I mean, the first name we had was the revenue team. So design, abstract, mobile up, and then finally we had Duncan and I have been talking about this. I don't think I've socialized this with you yet, but I will in our one-on-one. Is a event module. So you know how we have a web module right now, but actually extending that web module to be a web module and an event module. Yeah, because right now people use it as just as another website for some of their smaller groups, and then they tie it back to the database on the original one because you only have 2 admin logins. But doing that event module, knowing now how we're doing our designs, like think of Brookhaven, and if that was an event module, it'd be pretty cool. So these were the immediate low-hanging fruit add-on things that I think we wanted to roll out across the entire team.
Yep. And so, hey guys, I'm going to jump in here too. Obviously, so industry term expansion revenue. We've got our base module fees. We want to add expansion revenue. The loose goal there, just to socialize it, is that expansion revenue exceeds churn, strictly from a revenue perspective on like a month-to-month basis. So just to give like some context for the impact that expansion revenue can have. And Paul, you're probably gonna get mad at me. That's okay. I'm gonna say it anyway. For now, we should really focus on the ones that are immediately available, a la conference, module add-on, a la design. So excluding abstracts, excluding mobile up because they're not ready yet. Let's really put our brain power on the ones that we can move on tomorrow.
Yeah, and we'll use those as the formula or the program to roll the other ones out too.
Bingo.
Right?
Yes. Yep, totally.
So I think design and obviously the event module or conference module or web module, we want to call it, is very similar. And I've already gone through pricing that that I've thought about with Adam and Duncan, and we've kind of come to a consensus of what we think the pricing is. But so I think let's give it some time, because so if we did Duncan's retention, we did spin and the why, then maybe a quick education on MPS. And then that next meeting after that would be these 2 add-on revenue items, because we'll be further along there. And I think they'll be at a point where we could talk about literally rolling them out.
Well, an abstract, I mean, right, I mean, Duncan, you keep me honest, but I mean, we're tracking pretty good with the abstract solution. So, given if that's 3 or 4 weeks away, we might be even in a better place for that too.
Yeah, and I'm not going to speak to that because it isn't ready yet, and those timelines always get jumbled, so I don't even want to entertain it at this point.
So there's our next 4 meetings. Let's schedule them. So now we have something that's very actionable. It's efficient. We will have we'll have a goal. And let's pick the next 4.
And I think too, we should be open-minded to these might fall to the next 4, but if we're on a really good topic with one, maybe that rolls into the next one too. I just don't want to race through it either. Like I want to make sure if we're on a really good pace with a topic and we're going to need 2 to 3 hours for it. Maybe the next 2 meetings then are continue to focus on that one. I just want to make sure that we really aren't limiting ourselves to, okay, well, we got to get through this one in an hour because we got to go to the next one too, because I just don't want to race through it, because there might be stuff that we uncover that if we're racing through it.
I agree with that. And my one-on-ones are with all of you anyways. Well, I mean, I'm in the marketing meeting anyway, so I have influence and through there. But my point being that I'm going to know if we're not doing the collateral stuff. I'm going to know if we're not doing the onboarding stuff. I'm going to know if,
No, I just mean more for those next 4 things. If when we talk about the retention conversation next week, if we're going really good on it, but we need another hour, I just want to be okay, well, the next meeting's got to be about spin. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Yeah. So let's pick the next 4 and We didn't take notes though on this, did we? Did
Yeah.
somebody take?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Lindsay. You're so great. So let's pick the next 4. Let's call it a day.
So Lindsay and I will be out Monday through Thursday next week,
At HubSpot.
and Lindsay will be out on Friday as well.
So October 2nd, Kinsey, you're out.
Yeah, I'm traveling quite a bit for work in the upcoming month. Not like a lot of days, like it's like 1 or 2 days a week, but you'll see like day-long outages on my calendar for work where.
Liar.
I didn't put this on the calendar, but I have that
You're
cat.
just gonna hate this, but the only time I ever see it ever works is like very much at the end of the day or 8 in the morning. Those are the only
I
times.
don't hate that anymore. Like, I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, but for a couple months now, I've been coming in at like
I
a
have
reasonable
noticed.
given time. That's because I'm so busy that I can't not. So, I mean, last night I was here till 8:30, so.
Yeah, you always stay late. It's just that, and you have been coming in early. I'm
I'm an adult, I can come in at 8. Don't not schedule a meeting at 8 because I need to be sleeping. Like, that's okay, don't worry about that. I will be really bummed if a meeting gets scheduled like when I'm out of town. I cannot.
We're not gonna do that.
I can't be on the phone. Like,
Oh
it
my
doesn't.
It's really hard to
Yeah.
call
It's like
in.
you're not here.
It's
like when
bad.
you're on the phone. Like, I can't. I need to be able to see the craziness you're writing.
The only one who can be on the phone, Adrian does it every single day, so she's used to it. And then Duncan speaks the words, so we have to like.
But it is better when Duncan's here for him to speak the word.
So what
It's
is October?
tough. It's tough over the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it.
So let's pick, so maybe the first week in October will be the next one. The next week in October can be the next one. We can hit, no?
No, I was just looking at her because
Adam's got everybody up right now.
everyone?
No, this is just my calendar.
Okay, I was like, I have my, and this is what
I
it looks
can
like.
get everybody.
That first week of October, I'll be out the 5th and the 6th for that leadership conference, the Catalyst conference. Out in
We'll
Gwinnett.
just pull everybody.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
Duncan, Adam, Adrian.
It's real tight.
Shocking. Laura, we're not including Mark because he's not
Someday.
available ever.
You
Oh,
were trying to get it straight real quick.
Stacy.
You
I went ahead.
Like ice creamish colors on yours.
I can't look at your
Lydia.
I did.
I didn't mean to call you out, but I.
I don't know when I'm going yet.
This looks good. This looks really good. It's gonna be at 8 a.m., guys. That's what we're gonna do. Oh fuck, that's not good. Okay, the first week in October,
The 3rd at 8.
I'm out those first 3 days
Oh.
though. Like I'm not in the office at all, and I'm at a customer's office, so I can't call in either.
What's,
You're at that whole week.
No.
It's not that week?
What week? The Laguna trip?
Yeah.
No, I backed that up to a weekend, so
Okay,
I won't miss work for my personal trip. 10/5 and 10/6 are the dates I'm looking at.
I'm out
It
10/5.
looks 100%
He's out.
booked. That week is like, there's not a time that we can all be here, so I don't know what.
do you have Ryan on there?
Well, like she did, so she didn't feel like I forgot about it. Of course she had me on there.
Let's take the weather off. We don't need the weather to be at the meeting. I have the weather in my calendar.
What does
yeah.
it say?
I added it. It like shows.
So millennial to do that, right?
It just shows the weather so you can see it on your fucking calendar. That's
It
all.
does?
You know, that's like a derogatory comment now, Paul, right?
Is that bad comment?
So
Yes.
millennial.
It's so millennial.
Weather on your calendar.
No, I like that.
Know what
You
it says?
job hopping lazy bitch.
I think
That's not what I mean. That's so
I think millennials take the term as like offensive now, because nobody like it's not a positive thing. You know?
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry,
I'm not
Kenzie.
degraded. I'm not degraded.
Ralph?
I'm not a
Well,
traditional millennial.
To be fair, millennials take offense to everything, so don't speak.
Part of us, aren't you?
Duncan, aren't you a millennial though?
Saying,
Well,
yeah.
you can
Man.
put
Bite your
Sports
tongue.
on
I'm
your
a
calendar.
full-on
Like you can
cusper.
football.
I'm a cusper. They actually made a new term for cuspers.
I didn't know I was.
I put Georgia and Bama.
I was like, what?
So you can put, like-
I did not know.
Okay.
NFL. I'm getting
What
excited.
what if we have to look at that second week? Okay, what about next week? Looks pretty borked. Next week, oh fuck, inbound.
Yeah.
Okay, so next week's not an option. The first week of October is really not an option either.
I can always go back and look at this. listen to the recording. I would like to be here for the retention.
I'm not gonna be here next Friday, I won't be here.
The 29th?
Yeah, so like if y'all.
Adrian, I don't know why, but your calendar says busy 7 to 7 for a long time.
Woo.
I'll be totally open. You can schedule it anytime that week.
All right, word.
Also, my mom and dad are going to be in town, so I'm kind of like trying to keep it at a minimum, but I can definitely put that in anywhere. And also, I'm going to be in the office for like future meetings, the 18th, 19th, and 20th. So it'd be super cool if we could do a meeting one of
Yeah,
those
we should
days.
do one then, when Adrian.
Okay, so it looks like we can all
Definitely.
do 7 a.m. too early for everybody? No, I'm just kidding. The week of the
I was like,
9th,
nope.
Tuesday, 10:10, it looks like we could slot in at 8 a.m.
Perfect.
Tuesday, 10:10.
Kinsey at NSPN? On the,
Fuck, you're right.
Hey. And I think Paul's in Indianapolis that day.
Yeah, you've got, indeed.
Paul's like, let's do it. I won't be here, but let's do it.
I'm back from NSPN is in Louisville. That's that Louisville trip I'm taking to train those people. Fuck. What about the 12th at 8 a.m.?
Is that,
Looks acceptable. Adrian's the only one that's marked off, and she said she's available, so
which date is that?
the 12th at 8 a.m.
Do it.
Yes. I'll send an invite.
get it on there?
Woo!
Me too. I was like, get it on there right now. Everything's
I
changed.
really was having anxiety.
And then the next one when Adrian's in town if possible.
18th, 19th, or 20th.
12 to 8 a.m.
Yeah.
I don't
My
do it
flight-
on
My
Don't
flight
what?
leaves at like
Yeah.
8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Or I probably won't be able to make it to the office before 10 on the 18th because of my flight, but the 19th and 20th.
That's okay, because that's a lull day anyways, from 8:30 to 12:30. Thursday.
the 19th.
Okay, I think I got everybody else.
No, I mean, if it's later in that afternoon.
No, 8 in the morning.
We have the
8 in the
leadership,
morning.
we have
We could do it at 9.
I mean, none of us are going to get drunk at the Clickies anyway. What are we talking about?
Yeah,
This is also
you
true.
know, and end up doing a lot of stuff that
Yeah.
night.
That's during the day of the cookies.
Oh, I thought you were saying the next day.
Oh, no, I don't care about the next day.
Yeah, no, 'cause I don't think any of us are going to get fucked up at the Clickies. I mean, obviously Duncan will, but other than that. Just kidding, Duncan.
Don't shade.
I want to watch him walking on the hill again.
I want to watch him. I don't
Don't
wanna
even
watch him
say
do
anything.
Belabor this, and it's all recorded, so I'll Mark has pictures, and he has actually some videos too.
What? We haven't seen these.
Of
Of
Duncan,
Duncan
after
throwing
Clickies.
up and out of the car. Oh,
Hey, Paul, thank you for sharing.
Oh my God, I want to see this now.
It's pretty cute.
He tried to give this presentation recorder, so I'm going to be saying,
Duncan
oh, this
is so
story.
nice.
All right, so we're looking, what about?
I thought it was something else, like scandalous from last year.
So it looks like, no, Duncan didn't get drunk last year at the Clickies.
It's just Duncan the next day.
Just, you know how he gets. He lays on the blanket under the table.
We've all been there. It's
Yeah.
I
okay.
have a picture of him sleeping.
Under a desk, yeah.
Right?
Typical Tuesday.
In a,
Oh, it's rude.
don't go too far.
Duncan, we'll erase
Oh, that
this
was when he
recording.
farted. I mean, Mark knows Duncan vomits and farted. Like, he knows.
Oh, what?
At the same time? Like
The
this?
fart. The fart is the thing. Sorry, Duncan.
So
Duncan.
he farted and then vomited?
We're
Or?
on recording.
Oh, we're recording this, I'm sorry.
This is great.
Farting on the recording?
I know, we all have, but I mean.
Does anyone else listen to
I mean,
this?
I guess we could probably stop.
Just Mark? Oh,
We'll have fun. I'll tell him to
So I'll
read
just
it.
stop the recording now.
That's a good idea, thanks.
We were just like in a.
So it looks
Hey,
like a lot of us